In 1926, Dr. Carter G. Woodson initiated Black History Month, recognizing the profound impact of African American contributions, often overlooked in our shared history. As we stand in Riverside County, let's honor this legacy by embracing diversity and amplifying voices that have shaped our community. Black History Month isn't just a reflection on the past, it's a commitment to a more inclusive future, where every story is acknowledged, celebrated, and contributes to the rich tapestry of our county. Together, let us build bridges of understanding, respect, and unity, ensuring that the essence of Black history resonates in every corner of Riverside County.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to this special Black History Month podcast. My name is Barry E. Knight. I'm the Equity, Access, and Opportunity Officer for the county, and I'm here with District 3 Supervisor Chuck Washington. And today we're talking about why we celebrate Black History Month and how we can inspire future leaders in Riverside County. So Chuck, we're here today talking about Black History Month, and let's talk to our audience about why do we celebrate Black History Month?
You know, probably for someone of my generation, you know, baby boomer, I think initially Black History Month was intended to be a moment that we could, we as a community, African American community, Black American community, could think about the important people that played key roles in our history, in this country, in this nation. And celebrate those heroes and their successes. It has since, I think, become something that now we know that we want to recognize not only those long historic figures from many decades ago to more recent heroes. I both look at those important Black leaders who inspired us as young people, but they also served as shoulders to be stood upon for future generations. As Black history has evolved, we're seeing more and more people who are a first of this or a first of that. And many of those people stood on the shoulders of previous Black leaders. I know that when I served in the military as a Navy pilot and then went on to become a Delta pilot, I was one of just a few hundred Black American pilots flying for a major U.S. carrier. Now you see many more because people see that it's something that they can do. They're inspired by others who have done it. And so now for me, Black History Month means how do we inspire to keep that progress moving forward.
So Chuck, that's actually a great answer, because when we look at Black history and great leaders, we can also consider yourself, because you've paved the way for others to consider occupations and careers that maybe they were not considering before. So looking at Black history, who are some individuals that have made significant impact in America?
You know, I made a reference earlier that I served in the military. I'm proud to have said that I was a Black naval aviator. If you drive down to my district into French Valley and you go into our library, there's a model of an F-4U Corsair hanging in the community room. And the significance of that is that it is the aircraft that the first Black naval aviator flew. He was shot down in the Korean War. So I guess my point is we don't have to go all the way back to the 1800s to find Black heroes. And that had special meaning to me because I was a Black aviator, naval aviator. I look at, as a result of my experience in the military and my great respect for those that went before me, I look at individuals who I've had the great pleasure of meeting, such as Colin Powell, you know, as an inspiration. I would say perhaps I have been an inspiration for some, but at times, Barry, sadly, it feels like not only have I served in some roles as the first black, but I feel like maybe I'm the last black. You know, I don't want that. We don't challenge ourselves to fill those leadership roles with the notion that if you're a black person, that it's just about you. When I stood in that doorway of the cockpit to say thank you for flying Delta as people got off, and invariably, you know, about 8 or 10 people down the row coming up, and it's a woman, an African American woman. She gets to the door and she sees that her pilot's black, and she nods to me and she says, "I see you." That was what was said when we were growing up. That was what was said about my father, who was the first Negro doctor at a state hospital in Jackson, Mississippi in 1954. You know, and it was meant to encourage others to strive to do something that had never been done before. And then we celebrate it collectively, right, as a community. So I'm happy if I inspire others, young people, but also I want them to follow through. I want them to have those opportunities. I want them to be exposed to their opportunities and see themselves in those roles.
I love that. Supervisor, I want to kind of go back on the representation piece. I think that's very important. Some people might push back against it. It's like, why do we need to celebrate the first this and the first that? But there is some merit to it. As you have mentioned, the young lady on the plane seeing you as a black pilot, which is, we don't see that often. But you've been mayor, you've been city council member in Marietta. And when we think in the political field, we don't really have a lot of representation from the black community. Mm-hmm. But can you speak to those young men, young ladies, young persons out there that are trying to figure out the rest of their life? What do they want to do? And maybe they're not looking at politics as a possibility. They don't talk about politics, or they have a negative thought of what politics might be, and might be against it in their family or in their homes. But can you speak to that representation and what that means for our community and what that meant for you?
Yeah. If people just realize that when you run for office, it gives you a seat at the table. And that's where the decisions are made. You know, not in the other room, sitting on the sofa. You got to be at the table, right?
Right.
To participate. And if I could convey the importance of that, I think more people would be interested. People have challenged my party affiliation or whatever. And the point I've made with people that ask about politics and say, well, there's campaigning, which means you got to convince people to vote for you. Then you get elected, right? But then you're done with that. Now you're governing. Once you're in that governance phase, now you have some freedom to roll out some of the things that you find important. One of the great joys that I've had being county supervisor is most of the work that we do as a county doesn't get reflected in my campaign. Some things do. I support public safety because everybody wants to live in a safe community, as it turns out. Democrats, Republicans, Independents are of one mind. We want safe communities. I support that. But counties provide services that are transparent to a lot of people. They don't know. What we do falls behind the scenes of what they normally get from their city and their city council. We're helping people survive and thrive. And there's nothing more rewarding than that work, bar none. If I could convince people how important that is to have that seat at the table. You come to a board meeting and you complain that we don't have this or we don't have that. what are you doing to get involved?
Yeah.
You know.
Even as a young man that I still classify myself as, when I first came to the county 2.5 years ago,
Yeah.
and I looked at the dais and I saw you up there, I have to say that it inspired me as well. As a young man full of dreams and aspirations, still hoping to become something great in life.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have that, especially in our community, that presence of someone. And you know, when we think about working in county government, a lot of African Americans, we focus a lot on the service, you know, the frontline workers. So we're nurses, we're teachers, or we're social workers. But we can promote up. We can be managers here in the county. We can be directors, and we can be, district supervisors, like Chuck Washington. And I think that's awesome that we get to see you in that seat, making decisions and leading in a district that, you know, what Temecula is 5% African American, Marietta 6%, kind of a lower representation, but you're in that seat and you're at the table.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned some of the other roles that people can fill, because they're important. They're important roles. And the service we provide to people depends on the caliber of that service that we provide, depends on who's providing the service. And if that person has a bit of empathy, a bit more empathy, because they understand the person across the counter from them a little bit better, then we're all winning, right? So if it's a woman, if it's someone of color, and this person across the counter happens to mirror that, maybe they feel like they're getting served a little bit better by someone that understands them and their plight. So that's an important job.
Your road to where you are today, it opened the door and it paved the way for others to say, I can do this too.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that. So thinking about your legacy and what you want to leave behind, I know you have many more years to lead here in Riverside County and District 3, and to be a voice, a focal point of influence for many. But when you think about your legacy, Chuck, what is some things that you want to leave behind that would inspire the next generation of black leaders?
As I think about my legacy, hopefully, is larger than the measurement of the color of my skin. That others look at me, look at you, see what we've done, and say, and oh, by the way, he was a black man. But before that, he was a professional. He was competent at what he was doing. He did a good job. He left the place where he occupied that space for 10, 12, 14 years, and he left it better off than the way he found it. And the insinuation is that people that are in a position who are people of color or a woman may be less qualified and got the job somehow based on gender or race. And yet, these are people that are as qualified, if not more qualified, were never given the opportunity in the past. So part of what I hope to leave behind as a legacy is that people look at the job that I did and they say, not just black people, all people look and say, wow, he was a pretty good supervisor. He did it with professionalism, he did it with heart, with integrity, and maybe we shouldn't judge people based on the color of their skin or their gender. Maybe we should just judge people or give them an opportunity to serve based on that they're qualified.
Yeah, like Martin Luther King says, not judging them by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So as we're moving forward and developing an equitable society here in Riverside County, there's many things that we've done over the years, many things that we're working on now and that we're looking to do.
Yeah.
What does the future of Black History and Black History Month look like for Riverside County?
You know, Riverside County, I use this a lot when I'm speaking to my constituency, is the fastest growing county in the state. And so we have a great influx of people coming to live in Riverside County. There are a number of reasons why that's the case. I mean, near the top of the list, if not at the top of the list, it's more affordable than anywhere else in Southern California. We have safe communities, we have good schools, we have an opportunity to find a good job or start a business. And I've seen all of that happen in the 3 generations of us. We've been here 35 years.
Wow.
Came here with a 6-year-old. She is now 41, married, mother of 3, living 10 minutes away from us. And so I see that opportunity, and I see also that perhaps the people that are coming are people who might not have had an opportunity somewhere else, for whatever the reason. But they are shaping the future of Riverside County. They are young families, they are people of color, they are mixed genders, households. We celebrate their differences. We celebrate the diversity in cultures, the diversity in economies in our communities. These are all things that make us stronger, just as our country is a diverse nation. And I think that that's going to be Riverside County's strength. It's Riverside County's future. And you know, I don't even have to ask to be remembered by having a street named after me. There's already a Washington Street going through Murrieta.
You'll take credit for it.
Maybe if they named a state after me. Oh wait, they did that already. No, I'm content. You know, people say to me when they hear about my service in the military, they say, "Thank you for your service." And I feel like I gained more than I gave in that experience. And I feel the same about this job as a county supervisor. To have the opportunity to be involved as this county grows and thrives. I'm talking about the county structure grows and thrives. And I look at all the great people we've brought on. I have a great team in my office, and I think you know, things are just looking up and up and up. And that's the future that I'm excited about, because I know that there'll be little kids, my grandkids' age, you know, that will grow up here and call Riverside County home. And they won't know who I was, but I know that I might have played a small part making it a great place to live.
Awesome. Chuck, I appreciate your time. Thank you for this interview. Ladies and gentlemen, Supervisor Chuck Washington.